Welcome to Living Legacy Leadership, where you'll be introduced to insights, tools, and strategies to leverage creative living and giving. I'm your host, Donna Kim Brand, creative brain trainer and legacy strategy coach. I help changemakers and late career professionals who are deciding what's next to develop their thinking, learning, creativity, and collaboration skills, along with leadership mastery for meaningful impact in their next phase of life. The guests and show content I bring to you each week will all address some unique aspect of learning, leadership, or legacy. This will help you raise your own game as a leader in business and life, and also showcase some extraordinary people who exemplify living legacy leadership. At least once a month, I also offer a training session to skill you in game changer thinking for your own application. So get your notebook ready or sharpen your memory by tuning in your attention, and we'll dive right in. Now, our guest today is one wonderful gentleman named Greg vanRiel. He's a professional photographer. He's had a lifelong fascination and passion for photography, which started with his father's Leica camera at the tender age of 5. 12 years later, Greg was finally allowed to use the camera he'd been admiring since he was old enough to pick it up. Now, while other teenagers were sleeping away their summer holidays, Greg was up with the sun and taking photographs in the early light of day. And you'll find that light plays a key part in his profession even now. Evenings were spent in the creative isolation of the darkroom, mixing chemicals and freeing the images from the negatives. He soon started shooting local motorcycle races and sporting events in his hometown of Montreal. He then moved to Toronto and took part in a busy emerging film business. Greg used his experienced eye and photographic skill to shoot numerous locations for movies, TV shows, and commercials. Now Greg's photography focuses primarily on architecture and people. He captures the heart of the world's sleeping giants, or as Prince Charles once called them, monstrous carbuncles, and Greg makes them look good. His pictures of people provide unique insights into the stories of who they are. He believes in going the extra mile to capture exceptional images for his clients. So, Greg, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you.
Super. We're glad you're here. Now, has it begun to snow in Toronto, Canada yet?
No. We're still quite a way away from that. We have a beautiful October, and we get Indian summer. Mm-hmm. And, it's still going to be nice for a little while until flurries come.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I grew up in that neck of the woods, so that's why I don't live there anymore.
Right. Well, we're looking to escape the winter months, and it's coming to fruition soon.
Oh, great. We'll ask you about that later. Super. So, Greg, at this point, we talked about your Leica camera that you got introduced to as a young whippersnapper. So what kind of camera do you use now, and do you ever take professional photographs with an iPhone or a cell phone of any type?
My first camera after the Leica, which was my father's camera, and it was a great camera to learn on. And then eventually I saved up all my money and I bought a Nikon. I was so excited at that time. I guess I was 17. And I remember it well because I didn't sleep a wink the whole night. I was so excited about going the next day down to the store to buy the camera. And it was a Nikon. And I'm still shooting Nikon. I still shoot Nikon full frame. And I don't use a camera, what do you call it, a phone for any of my stuff. That's not to say you can't take great pictures with a phone, but for me, the quality is not there.
Right. So, when a photographer does their job well, people actually have no idea what all goes into it. So what do you think, or what would you say is most important element? The subject you're shooting, the equipment you're shooting with, the photographer who's doing the shooting, or maybe even the post-photographic processing, editing, kind of printing phase?
I'd say the very most important thing really is your eye. And I used to teach photography, and that's what I would teach my students. I say, it doesn't matter what kind of camera you have, if it's a crop sensor or full frame or even a phone, it's all about your eye. And ultimately, that's what people are going to pay for. They're going to pay for your unique vision of how you see things.
Ah, okay. So when you say your eye, that includes both what you see, but how you perceive things, which is how you think about things. And I know you take a very philosophical approach to photography. Any comments you want to make about that at this stage?
Well, the philosophical side, I think that, after a little while and you get to know your technique and you feel pretty comfortable with with equipment and the technical aspects of it, then it calls for a little bit of inspiration. Anybody can take a nice picture of any professional can take a great picture of a room or whatever the subject is. But what is it that takes a picture to the next level? And that's what I ask, help with from the higher powers. And sometimes it could just be seeing the way the light plays a certain way, or maybe it's an unexpected thing in the shot that makes you look twice, or that helps tell the story in a different way.
Mm. Well, that's pretty cool. Yeah, and now you're a really good storyteller with your photographs. And in fact, anybody who goes to your website, which comes from your name, Greg vanRiel, so it's GV for Van and R, GVR Pix, PIX.com. Did I get it right?
Oh, yeah. That's
Okay, yeah.
it.
Then you can have a look at Greg's repertoire and portfolio, and I tell you, it's drop dead gorgeous and so inspirational. Now, I understand that on a lot of your shoots, you actually have a shooting partner, Jin Kai Wong,
Yeah.
and I just want to pick out a couple things, quotes I picked up from him, what he said about you, Greg, if you'll allow me. He said that when you're out there on a shoot, regardless of the conditions, you enjoy the beauty of the place or in which you're doing the shooting, and that you always go the extra mile to capture exceptional images, and that you share the language of shapes and composition, of light, color balance, and utter subtleties. I love that phrase, utter subtleties. And last thing I'll say he said about you is he said you have the ability to coax life out of your subjects, even if they're inanimate, like rocks or houses. Isn't that?
Yeah.
I mean, so talk to us about that. Maybe it was part of that inspiration you just shared a minute ago.
Yeah, I think we're always trying to improve, and that's the whole fun of it, really. And that's kind of the exciting part, is how can we just take it to the next level? And so every shoot, that is our mission, really, is to just take it to that next level, make it that much more exciting. We have to challenge ourselves. I think that's the whole point, really. And the other thing that I find about photography, that I really love about photography, is that it makes us so present. We're so absolutely present in the moment, looking at the light, looking at the composition, what's going on in the frame. We're not thinking of anything else. We're not really worrying about anything. We're not, our minds are not wandering. We're laser focused on the very present moment.
Mm. Well, I wonder if that's part of what you learned at the early stage. I mentioned in the bio that your initial career move was in Montreal, was shooting motorcycles and athletics, where you have to work it, with objects that are moving at high speed or in very precision or precise kind of movements and moments. So do you think that trained your eye and that sort of sensibility of the now?
Oh, yeah. I think those things help a lot. That all was great experience. And as you get, as the cameras do get a little better, you can shoot bursts. So that when you're nowadays, when we shoot sports, you shoot several frames a second, it could be even as many as 10 frames a second. But that being said, you still have to anticipate. For instance, I did shoot something with a Olympic track star recently, and I had to get a shot of him just pouncing out of the blocks,
Ah,
leaping out of the blocks, and it was a single shot. It wasn't really done as a, I just had to anticipate and be there, so present, and just hit that shutter at the right moment.
yeah, amazing. Well, and then you moved on to Toronto, where you were scouting locations for film, TV, and commercials. What was that like? And what was it like to work with that sort of group of people?
Well, I think what really was helpful is that you're still trying to tell a story. I did a lot of commercials, and they would give us the storyboard, and with little and a script, and so you'd have to go and interpret that and say, well, this is a room. It's a beautiful living room, and the person enters from this side, and the action takes place by the window, and so then you really had to shoot the board, as they called it, and it kept my eye very, very much alive, and kept flexing that muscle, and it really helps. It just helped in learning how to tell stories.
And did you? Okay, we just got to ask it. Do you have any little secrets, or did you have any rubbing elbows with celebrities or any divas when you're on your shoots, or were you mostly?
Oh yeah, we had all kinds of stuff. I remember working on a movie with Martin Sheen, and it had nothing really to do with photography. But I remembered coming into a room, and it was offset. We were shooting in a house, and he was in the living room. And I walked into the living room, and the energy was just like, whoa, what's going on here? And he was preparing himself for the scene where he hears that his wife has just died. Oh. And it was so powerful. You could cut with a knife. You could cut the air with a knife.
Wow, that intense, huh?
Oh, he's very good, as we know. He's a great actor.
Well, for sure. That's right. Cool. Well, speaking of people then, I know you do a number of portraits, and you do capture the essence of people. So how is it that you get people to relax? And, even, for example, in your portfolio, I saw you had some financial services industry, and you actually made those people look human, not like cardboard cutouts like most financial services or legal people look in their brochures and so on. Well, how do you do it?
Oh, well, that was a great shoot, really, because the guy, the president of that company was really quite game. He was a fun guy. And so I was able to pick up on that and capture that. And then once we did the group shot of them all in the lobby there, I said, hey, maybe could lie down on the ground. Oh, he said, I'll lie down on the ground, and so here's the president like lounging on the ground, the floor, with his other people around him. And I thought, he was just game, so that's what we did. It was a spontaneous moment.
Well, cool. I guess that would loosen up everybody else if he's willing to jump down on the floor, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think you got some very genuinely, some genuine moments there of people smiling and kind of amused by the whole thing. And it was all quite real,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, you're not called vanRiel for nothing, right? Right. And and this is a kind of a goofy question, but in a lot of your pictures, you're wearing a kind of I'm going to call it a goofy hat, a kind of a hat, and I don't know if you refer to it as a pork pie hat or something, but do you wear your hat during your shoot? Is that kind of what makes you approachable, or do you only wear that when you're outside?
No, I'll wear it all. I'll wear it all the time, or I'll take it off too. I mean, of course, if it's really hot. But I just like wearing that hat. It's just my little signature hat, I guess. My something to identify.
Well, it makes you very approachable, I think, and that may be part of how you warm up your subjects.
Yeah, talking to people when you're shooting just before, to get them ready a little bit, find out a little bit about them. It sounds kind of corny, but